I pissed off the black community. I definitely pissed off the black community, and it is what it is. I don't know what you want me to tell you. But apparently I'm uneducated. So let's go through why I said what I said in that video, because I stand 10 toes down on it. Back in the 1600s, black people, specifically Africans, were not just stolen. They were sold off by other Africans. At that time, slavery wasn't really a term or a thing. They had indentured servants. These servants had time limits of how long they were going to be working. So after these 3 years, you're free to go. And honestly, truthfully, a lot of these men and women chose to become indentured servants because it wasn't a forever thing, it wasn't a long thing, and they would be able to freely come into America. Not saying that it was right. I'm just saying some of these men and women did go by choice so they could leave their home country. Most of the people that were put into servitude, it was for a few reasons. It could have been they were captured and sold off, they could have committed a crime, or they were indebted to somebody. They owed someone something. Now, what I said in my video was that black people created slavery. They started slavery. What I didn't specify was that and I clarified this in the comments immediately after uploading, but just not in the video specifically, but before this drama took place. I clarified it right when I put up the video. But I was talking about in the US, not the entire world, because that predates, what, 10,000 years? I was not getting into all that. So I was talking about here at home. That is because of Anthony Johnson, who back in the 1620s was a servant. Not a slave, a servant. So
here in front of me called Our Skin that has been endorsed by NACI. And I'm going to read exactly what this book says. You guys might find it interesting. A long time ago, way before you were born, a group of white people made up an idea called race. They sorted people by skin color and said that white people were better, smarter, prettier, and they deserved more than everybody else. This would be taught if we socialize our pre-K system. This would be taught.
Do you disagree with that findings in the book?
1,000%. How about we teach Jesus loves me? How about this? In teaching Jesus loves the little children, the lyrics go, red and yellow, black and white, they're all precious in our sight. Now, which one would you think would be better? I'll ask everybody on the panel, which is better to teach? This, that is a story that was made up to teach our kids, 3-year-olds who have no idea what race is, now all of a sudden is being taught that white people said this as a truth. Someone point at me that this being a truth, that white people developed race, that white people developed that all of a sudden that was our word that we developed. By the way, I'm Cherokee, Native American. I think we have experienced a little bit of racism before in my life, Chairman.
Senator Mullin.
So I ask everybody on the panel, which one is better to teach? This or the Jesus Loves Me lyrics? Ma'am, I'll...
Hello everyone. What really happens when a system built to suppress others starts turning against its own creators? So guys, in this video we are just going to dive into this growing conversation around power, control and unintended consequences. Many are now questioning whether the very structures designed to disadvantage black Americans are beginning to impact the same people who once benefited from them. From the economic struggles to social shifts, the conversation is getting louder and more uncomfortable. So guys, let me roll these clips and I'll be coming back to break down the reactions, the backlash and the deeper meaning behind this moment. Let's ask ourselves, that is this a wake-up call or just the beginning of a larger shift? Just watch till the end and share your thoughts. This is a conversation that everyone needs to hear. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to this channel for more real and unfiltered discussions. Let's get into the clips. I'll be back.
Eventually, when he was done with his servitude, he was given his freedom. And this man accumulated so much money. He was making so much money that he ended up purchasing a bunch of land. Now, he accumulated over 200 acres of land over that time, and he also accumulated about 15 to 16 slaves, 6 or 7 of them being African American, and the rest being white. Or, I'm sorry, servants, not slaves. Now, things went awry a few years later, around 1653, I think, one of those, where one of his servants, last name of Kaser or Kasser, left because he claimed that his servitude was up and expired, so he left to go work for a different owner. Anthony Johnson then brought it to court and sued that family to have Kasser be returned to him. After a couple of years through the Virginia court system, they actually went in Johnson's favor and brought Kasser back to Anthony Johnson, claiming him as a slave for life, thus creating slavery, legal slavery, not servitude, legal slavery here in America. It was because of Anthony Johnson, who was a black man. Every single background and origin on the planet has been oppressed or enslaved or servants at some point in time. The white race did not invent slavery, but they were the race that ended it. It wasn't even a race issue when it was first created. It was a class issue. As I say in many, many other videos, if I missed anything or forgot anything or didn't know something, feel free to comment it below. I don't care. I'm always open to conversation. I love talking about this kind of stuff. But for tens of thousands of black people to get up in my comments daily and call me uneducated or God knows what else, yet not one of them actually is doing the educating, how do you expect people to learn if you are unapproachable and mean?
Oh, okay. That was something. But you said you wanted to be educated, right? I mean, that's what you said. So come on in and hurry up because you didn't already miss too many classes as it is. Let's jump right in, shall we? And start with the fact that you didn't just miss a few details here. What you did was build an entire argument on half-truths and then acted confused when people reacted. And I took a look at your page because I was trying to understand the voice that you're speaking from. And it's clear to me that you try to present yourself as someone who tells hard truths, as someone who leans into uncomfortable conversations that other people might avoid. But what you said wasn't controversial, it wasn't bold, it was incorrect. And what really stood out to me is how you tried to frame it as confidence, opening with, "I'm standing 10 toes down," which is ironic because your first instinct was to borrow language rooted in Black culture, while speaking negatively about Black commenters just to make your point feel more solid than it actually was. But I digress. Because the way you ended the video told a completely different story. You said, "Educate me. Hey, I love these conversations. Don't just get on here and be mean." But your words and your delivery are completely incongruent. Your tone is defensive, and there's a level of condescension in how you speak, followed by a pivot into victimhood the moment people respond. That's not standing 10 toes down. That's you realizing that the response wasn't what you expected, so you're trying to soften the impact. If you really loved these conversations, right? If you actually wanted to learn and teach others, you wouldn't speak in that level of arrogance to the very people whose ancestors were impacted by over 400 years of this brutal history. And those people, by the way, have every right to feel emotional about it. The real question is, why are you? So this isn't about people being mean. It's about you speaking boldly on something that you're not fully informed on, and then asking for softness the moment that you're corrected. Now let's get into your claims, because this is where things really start to fall apart, okay? You first say that you didn't want to get into the slavery that existed outside of America because it was too much and it went too far back. But then you brought it up multiple times, but only when it supported your point. So which is it? Is it too much to get into, or is it something that you're comfortable using when it helps your argument? Because you can't selectively pull from a broader history to support your point and then ignore that same history when it complicates it. You reached outside of America to say that Africans sold Africans and that slavery existed before it became racial. And I already know that your next move will say, well, that wasn't real slavery, it was indentured servitude. But if that's the case, then you can't use it to support your argument in the first place. Either it counts as part of the history or it doesn't. Because the moment you pull from that broader timeline, you also then have to acknowledge that systems of enslavement existed long before America, which effectively means that Black Americans could not have created it as you claim. The real truth is that no one race or group invented slavery or back then indentured servitude. It shows up independently across multiple civilizations thousands of years before America even existed. So you can't have it both ways. Either we stay within—
Start down here. Just tell me which one. I don't have time for an
What I'll tell you, Senator Mullen, is that what children in these early years develop
I
their
didn't ask
identity.
the question.
It's
the question is which
it's
one
important
you
that
think
our
is better to—
classrooms are—
I'm just asking which one is better.
Let her answer the question, please.
My question is this.
She will
Which
answer
one
it
is
if she
better?
sees fit.
Which one is better?
It's important.
This?
It's important that children's identity
That's
and
not
language
answering my
and
question.
culture are recognized.
That's not answering my question.
And that's what creates
Ma'am,
strong
that-
executive
okay,
function.
if you don't want to answer my question, that's fine. Let's move on down the panel. Which was exactly— that's exactly what it is.
Got it on tape.
Misspoke. So what I'm saying is which one is which? Which one is better to be taught, Mr. Chairman? Is it this, or is it the Jesus?
Is your question directed to me or Ms. Woman?
Well, you keep interrupting me, saying they're not answering the question,
Want to ask
and I
me the
wish
question?
you'd really stay out of
No,
my
no, no.
questions. 'cause
It's his
my
question.
time.
He gets to dictate it.
Which
Not
one?
dictated. Ask the question.
Which one?
Talking to Ms. Woman, right?
Yes,
As I stated, Jesus is always first.
absolutely. I agree.
in the context of American slavery, or we include the full global history. But the moment you open that door, your entire argument collapses. So we'll focus on American slavery. Next, your entire argument hinges on the idea that Anthony Johnson, a Black man, won a court case in 1655, and somehow that means that Black people created slavery in America. Yes, he was a Black man who won a court case, but using that to claim Black people created slavery completely ignores the fact that the legal framework, the court systems, and the power structures making that ruling possible were already being built and controlled by white colonial authorities. That case didn't create the system. It operated within a system that was already taking shape. If anything, it honestly just shows how the colonies were already shifting toward lifetime servitude and how those courts were willing to enforce it. One case inside of a system does not equal authorship of the system. And what you completely fail to mention are cases like John Punch in 1640, 15 years before your Anthony Johnson example. He was a Black man sentenced to lifetime servitude, while the white men with him only received extended contracts. That's one of the earliest legal distinctions between Black and white labor in the colonies. That's the foundation of racial slavery, not Anthony Johnson. You then go on to say that slavery wasn't about race, it was about class. And yes, early on there were systems that looked like that. But in America, it was intentionally transformed into something else. Laws were put into place to make Blackness synonymous with enslavement. And that didn't just happen because one Black man won a court case. This required legislation. It required court rulings, plural, policies that were written, enforced, and expanded over time. Make no mistake, this was a system that had to be codified. built piece by piece, decision by decision, until blackness itself became the condition for lifelong, inheritable enslavement. That was not accidental, and it wasn't created.
So, you know, something unexpected is happening, and people are starting to notice. A system that was once designed to control, to limit, and disadvantage Black Americans is now being questioned by the very people who believed it would always work in their favor. And now, the roles don't look so clear anymore. For generations, you know, power structures were built with a specific goal in mind: to maintain control, to preserve advantage, and keep certain groups at the top. Policies, institutions, and social norms did not just appear out of nowhere. They were created, they were shaped, and reinforced over time. But here is the thing about systems: they don't always stay contained, they evolve, and sometimes they turn. So now more voices are speaking out. People are beginning to feel the pressure, the economic strain, limited opportunities, and also rising inequality. And for some, it's creating a moment of realization. What if the system we trusted was never truly stable to begin with? Because when a structure is built on imbalance, it does not just affect one group forever. Eventually, the crack spreads. Yes, so the reactions have been intense. Some are shocked, others are frustrated, others are in denial. You see debates heating up everywhere, online, in communities, across media platforms. People are asking tough questions. Who is this system really serving now? Was it ever sustainable? And perhaps the biggest question of all, can it be changed? So this moment is not just about blame. It is about reflection, because history has shown one thing clearly, that when systems are built to exclude, they eventually create instability for everyone. What was once seen as protection can slowly become limitation, and what was ignored for years suddenly becomes impossible to ignore. So now we are at a turning point. And will people continue to defend a system that is showing cracks? Or will this be the moment where real conversations begin? Just drop your thoughts in the comments, guys, because this is not just one perspective. It is a conversation. And if you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more real and filtered discussions. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Of course, all credit belongs to the original creators of the video. In this video, it's meant for educational purposes and commentary purposes as well. Thank you so much. Of course, all credit belongs to the original creators of the video. And this video is meant for educational purposes and commentary purposes as well. Thank you so much. Be blessed. Give the video a thumbs up. Share the video widely for it to get to a wider audience. Thank you. Be blessed. Peace be with you. Until the next one.